There are 14 strongest Defense Force members from the past and present, and I'm gonna show you weaknesses about most of them that you didn't know about, including Mina Ashiro's. And what if I told you that Kaiju number 8 isn't a natural born Kaiju, but a man-made one? Oh, and how can I forget that there is actually someone powerful enough to kill Kaiju number 8. I'm gonna tell you who that is right now, and it's not Esau, Narumi, Mina, or any of the current Defense Force members. This guy mysteriously appeared, and his presence alone terrified one of the most strongest Dai Kaiju ever. So who exactly is this guy? Remember when Vice Captain Hoshino explained that back in the Mireki era, a powerful Dai Kaiju appeared, devastating the Kanto area and most of Edo? Well, there's a chance that this Dai Kaiju could actually be an earlier version of Kaiju number 8. Which could lead to two interesting theories. And the first one is, if this Dai Kaiju in the Meireki era was Kaiju number 8, this means that the ghost samurai Kafka saw might be the one who killed number 8 in the past. This is clear from the moment our MC was terrified when he saw the ghost. And if you look closely at this panel, you'll see a lightning effect that could hint at something really important. It's possible that the samurai triggered something like a memory from the past, meaning it might not just be Kafka who's scared, but also the mini kaiju inside him, bringing back some serious PTSD from the samurai who beat its ass centuries ago. What makes this theory more interesting is that since we know how destructive Kaiju number 8 is, it's crazy to think how the heck samurai defeated this Dai Kaiju, especially back in that era when these warriors had to fight these monsters in much more primitive gear, like they used swords. Does this mean the samurai could have been way stronger than any present Defense Force member? Well, if this theory is true, it means the samurai is basically the Yoruichi Sugikuni of Kaiju number 8. However, there is also a different version of the theory. Theory number 2 is, what if the samurai might be the previous user of Kaiju number 8, which I explained in my last video. Now, there is someone in the Defense Force you probably didn't know about who straight up beat the prodigy Kikuro Shinomiya with just a stick. And this officer is so strong that she could be considered captain level, which was actually proven when she revealed how insanely high her combat power is. That shorty is Ren Shinonome. She's a member of the 1st Division and also a platoon leader. Ren is strapped with a large machine gun. With this weapon, she can go solo leveling multiple kaiju. And her battle skills are so impressive that even strong officers like Kikuro are amazed by her power. Ren is also super skilled in close range combat, as shown in her training sessions with Kikuro, where Shinomiya even mentioned that Ren can easily throw off Kikuro's rhythm. What makes Ren outstanding is her crazy combat power that reaches 73% when she faced Kaiju number 13. Her overall skills, experience, and high output are exactly why Narumi said all platoon leaders in the 1st Division are talented enough to someday become captains. Actually, Rin wanted to become a captain for a very different reason. She has been rizzed by the bro Narumi. No, seriously. Rin mentioned that she wanted to make Gen notice her. Notice me, senpai. And since he only has interest in strength, Rin tried to become stronger. And she did grow stronger, to the point where Narumi promoted her to platoon leader. Rin is strong now, but she got clapped by Kaiju number 13, and she almost would have died if Kafka hadn't stepped in. There's actually another monster in the 1st Division, and while his weapon isn't numbered, it has its own quirks. Say hello to the vice captain of the 1st Division, Eiji Hasegawa. Did you know he was actually Narumi's senior officer when Gen was a newbie? 9 years ago, Eiji was a platoon leader, and his first encounter with Narumi was unreal. Eiji saw something in Narumi that seemed impossible, which I'll show you shortly in the video. So Eiji is like the war machine of the 1st Division, because in battle he rocks a massive exosuit loaded with multiple weapons. This exosuit is not only perfect for defense, but also for offense since its firepower is highly effective against kaijus and is also great for whooping Narumi's ass every time he slacks off. But there is something missing about this weapon. If they're fighting kaijus, wouldn't it be safer if the armor had some protection on the upper body? I mean, look at it. It's heavily armored, but the upper part of the user is really exposed. Can't they just add a helmet or some bulletproof glass to make it safer? You know, just like Iron Man's Hulkbuster or the Titans from Titanfall. Anyway, when Narumi was a newbie, he was actually a member of the 2nd Division first. But since he was a troublemaker, he got sent to the 1st Division and became Eiji's problem. Even then, Narumi was a pain in the neck. especially since he disobeyed Eiji's orders most of the time. But this showed that Eiji and Narumi had surprising similarities. Since Gen was a troublemaker, he was almost about to get kicked out of the defense force. And it was the same for Eiji, but not because he was causing trouble. Eiji said that when he first joined the defense force, people looked down on him and said he wasn't as tough as he looked. But instead of giving up, Eiji used his strength and his suit to prove people wrong, which he successfully did. From a platoon leader, he's now the vice captain of the strongest division in the defense force, the 1st Division. Eiji might sound tough, but there's someone in another division with a unique ability that's so rare that only 3 people in the entire defense force have it. That's Jugo Oata, the 4th Division's captain. And did you know that according to the author himself, Jugo was actually a friend and rival of a legendary defense force officer? Not only that, but as a division captain, Jugo is known for his exceptional combat skills and his deep knowledge with numbered weapons. That's why he helped our boy Reno to control the OP suit number 6. But there's something even more interesting. Jugo actually has a secret weapon, and he's one of the few people with this unique ability, including the newbie that Jugo personally trained. I'll explain that officer and this special power in exactly a second. Now, according to the author Naoya Matsumoto, Jugo used to be the friend and rival of the legendary Hikari Shoma, Kikuro's mother. So if Jugo is Hikari's rival, then does this mean that he's almost as powerful as her? What are your thoughts on this? But do you know who else could be powerful? Keiji Itami. There's something strange I've noticed about Keiji. He's the newly appointed Director General of the Defense Force and is thought to be a very powerful fighter, maybe second only to Esau or Hikari Shoma. And what if I told you that he might have some secrets you don't know about? He's known for his wits and intuition. Especially during battles, Keiji stays calm and quickly grasps what's happening around him. But this exact thing makes him kinda sus. I mean, bro is quiet and usually kinda emotionless, which makes him a bit shady, naturally. That's why I thought of something crazy. What if Keiji Itami is also a Dai Kaiju? Just like number 8 and number 9. And maybe he's just a regular plain old bald guy like any anime with bald characters. Anyways, I can be wrong, of course, but it'll be pretty crazy if Keiji turns out to be a Kaiju. Now, like I promised, there's someone in the defense force with a unique ability that makes him an absolute monster. Iru Furuhashi, the newbie personally trained by Captain Jugo. So what exactly is this special ability? How OP is it? And what makes it so unique? This power is called Flash Adapter, and there are only 3 known cases, including Iharu and Captain Jugo. This ability temporarily boosts the combat power of the user. In Chapter 102, it was explained that Iharu's brain is built differently, so he can't keep his full power going for long. Instead, he fights with quick, powerful bursts that can overwhelm his opponents. It was mentioned that Iharu's combat power spikes when he gets in the zone. For example, while fighting a Kaiju in Chapter 63, his suit's combat power increased from 24% to 41% and kept fluctuating unpredictably, making him completely unstable. But according to Captain Jugo, if they teach him how to use his powers, Iharu could become a monster. Not only that, but his power could even surpass one of the prodigies, Reno Ichikawa's power, which was proven when Iharu reached 88% combat power. The thing is, even 88% is just a small amount of power compared to the might of Hikari Shoma, the former captain of the 2nd Division. Mommy was so overpowered that she was considered one of the greatest and strongest soldiers in Japan's kaiju slaying history. People even saw her as goddamn Valkyrie. She also served as a symbol of a strong female officer, inspiring countless women to join the defense force. And would you believe that Hikari was the Mina ashiro before Mina ashiro? Let me explain. As a captain, Hikari could harness huge amount of power from her combat suit. Her maximum unleashed combat power, while using numbered weapon 4, was 93%. Before she passed away, Hikari was set to become the captain of the Defense Force's most elite team, the 1st Division. She was a master with her spear, and she had the highest Kaiju kill count in the entire Defense Force history. On top of that, she used the fastest weapon, made from the remains of Kaiju number 4. By the way, don't you get confused, the spear is not a numbered weapon or numbers weapon, it's just a customized weapon. The actual numbered weapon is just a suit. I know, I was confused too. Also, Hikari and Kikuro Shinomiya vibes kind of remind me of Aesir Silva and Noelle Silva from Black Clover. You know what I'm saying? Noelle lost her mom and wants to surpass her, just like Kikuro wants to surpass her mother, Hikari. Plus, Aesir Silva had similar weapons and armor to Hikari. I feel like Kaiju number 8 really just bites off a lot of our favorite shonen. That's just a suspicion I have for now. So speaking of Kikuro Shinomiya, did you notice that at the start, Kikuro's combat release already beat an average trained officer? She hit 46%, while the normal trained officer only hits 20%. Meaning Kikuro's already as strong as a platoon leader right from the beginning. I mean, it kind of makes sense because, it's in her genes. I mean, look at her parents. Esau, the former Director General of the Defense Force, and Hikari, a former captain. Esau and Hikari would have like a super baby army or something. Also, there's something interesting that was revealed about Kikuro's massive axe that you probably missed. That this overpowered weapon was actually a failed prototype. By the way, these customized weapons are usually reserved for top-ranking division members. And thanks to her skills, Kikuro got herself her own personal weapon. In Kaiju number 8 B-side, it was explained that this axe was actually way off from the specifications the 3rd Division requested. And this weapon was made heavy because it has a special gimmick, making it difficult to wield. Plus, at the beginning, Kikuro couldn't wield it at her current combat power. However, at the moment Kikuro went beyond plus ultra because she surpassed her limits, unleashing a combat power of 60%. Not only that, she killed 3 Yoju and 1 Hanju, which had ridiculous armor by the way. So, for the special gimmick, what makes this weapon so unique? It's made from a Hanju that generates strong bioelectric potentials. This ability rapidly contracts its muscle fibers and fires all the air it takes as a shockwave. The axe uses this power as a special gimmick. That's why every time Kikuro swings it, it creates a shockwave when she activates it with the trigger. But the weapon has to be super tough, which is why it's so ridiculously heavy to balance everything out. Sadly, even with her current power, she couldn't stop Kaiju number 9 from killing her father. Although, this didn't stop her growth. Kikuro used her pain as motivation to grow stronger, and even asked Captain Narumi to train her. But is Esau really dead? What do you think? Now, aside from the huge custom axe, Kikuro was also given permission to use Numbered Weapon 4. By the way, it's not just the fastest weapon in the Defense Force, it has another insane power. It allows the user to actually fly. What's also interesting is that Kikuro is so strong that Kaiju number 9 even created a Dai Kaiju specifically designed to kill her. And the girl Kikuro used the numbered weapon against her copycat, Kaiju number 15, to the point Shinomiya hit an 88% unleashed combat power. But her drive to surpass her mother pushed her even more, and unlocked more of her potential, reaching a 94% combat release, surpassing her mother's combat release power. Well, Kikuro Shinomiya might be overpowered, but what if I told you that there's someone in the Defense Force who's going to surpass her? And that's our boy, Reno Ichikawa. Yeah, that's right, I said Reno, not Leno. You might be confused thinking, shouldn't it be Leno instead of Reno? Actually, it can be interchangeable, but it's officially, and if you're a real fan like me, it's officially Reno in the Japanese text. So Reno became so strong, he even got his own numbered weapon, made from one of the most powerful kaiju. It actually killed 200 Defense Force officers and 3 captains, including one of the strongest officers ever, Captain Hikari Shinomiya. That is Kaiju number 6, aka the king of kaiju. This monster had a massive fortitude level of 9.6, which is the 2nd highest in history. Even in death, this kaiju is still a beast. Its presence alone easily knocked out Reno the first time he tried to wear the numbered weapon. What makes this Dai Kaiju even more powerful is its unique cryokinesis. In chapter 60, when Reno finally fully equipped the suit, and its power was so intense that Iru could already feel the freezing cold energy just by standing near it. Reno used its power against the mole-type kaiju, and number 6 is so strong, it could easily freeze the massive arm of the mole kaiju with just one touch. Fast forward to chapter 99, did you see how OP Reno was when he instantly froze multiple Dai Kaiju at once? Dai Kaiju at once?
That's quite big.
And you know what's even crazier? Reno reached this level even though he was only 51% release power. Just imagine this guy when he finally hits 90%, like how unstoppable will he be? Can he surpass Gen Narumi? Well, however, neither 51% nor 94% are the highest unleashed combat power ever achieved. These outputs are nothing compared to Captain Levi. Vice Captain Soshiro Hoshina. Because when Kaiju number 10 became a numbered weapon, you won't believe the insane unleashed combat power Soshiro reached. Plus his brother, Soichiro Hoshina, mentioned something very interesting. That when it comes to sword skills, Soshiro is an absolute prodigy. And since their clan is full of master swordsmen, Hoshina is such a dog that he stands as the greatest swordsman in the Hoshina family, whether from the past or present. Soshiro even outperforms everyone when it comes to neutralizing miniature-sized kaiju, including the captain of the 1st Division, Gen Narumi, who's also known as Japan's strongest anti-kaiju combatant. All of this doesn't mean our vice captain is perfect or even invincible. He actually has one weakness. He sucks at using guns. This is exactly why people, even his own dad, tried to discourage Soshiro from joining the defense force. His dad thought that since Soshiro's shooting skills and combat power were pretty low, his swordsmanship wouldn't work out in the modern world. Even Soshiro's instructor said that he'd get wrecked using just swords, because kaiju were getting bigger and nastier. With this, Soshiro has some emotional flashbacks, which I get because, sometimes society sucks, and even your own family just don't believe in you. But who gives a damn? I'm gonna make an anime channel. Be like Soshiro. Now, I'm talking to you. Be like Soshiro. Bro doesn't care what people think because he loves what he's doing. He just kept grinding and leveled up his sword game to the point that he reached the impossible when he finally obtained his own numbered weapon made from the corpse of Kaiju number 10. With the help of this suit, Bro became the first person in Defense Force history to actually reach a full 100% unleashed combat power. Now, I would like to see how his dad gon' react to that one. However, there was a problem. Soshiro's physical skills were held back a bit because Kaiju number 10 has a mind of its own. That's why the 1st Division officers call them Comedy Duo Suit. But when they sync up, Soshiro can crush minor kaiju and unleash the weapon's full power. He even stood toe-to-toe with the upgraded version of number 10, Kaiju number 12. Soshiro was overwhelmed at first because number 12 was faster, stronger, and a better fighter. But after a tough battle, Soshiro finally defeated number 12 with a new technique he developed during the fight. But you know what, bro? Vice Captain Hoshina couldn't have gotten this far without his captain, our girl, Mina, the only person who trusted Soshiro's abilities. Did you know that when it comes to killing giant class kaiju, Mina is actually way stronger than Gen Narumi too? Even though she's super strong, what if I told you that I know her exact weakness? And it's probably the worst one ever. So, when Esau recruited Mina, she quickly became the ultimate trump card for the defense force, especially since she has taken down hundreds of kaiju and can easily overpower giant types with just a few shots. And since using big kaiju weapons requires a lot of skill and power, Mina is not just the only person in Japan who can do that, but also the only one in the entire world. That's why she's known as the strongest super giant class killer. Another interesting thing is, if Mina had been around when Kaiju number 6 showed up, Director General Keiji Itami thinks she could have prevented most of the damage. So, does this mean if Mina was around 10 years ago, she could have saved Kikuro's mom? That's crazy, bruh. That means Mina's a total prodigy. I mean, even at the time when she first joined the defense force, girl showed off her abnormal shooting skills. Even Isao Shinomiya was like, she is the missing link. And he even said that Mina will change the kaiju neutralization forever. Not only does Mina have some crazy firepower, her range is also insane. Like in chapter 75, Ren was surprised that Mina managed to hit a super giant class kaiju from 20 kilometers away. On top of that, her unleashed combat power is one of the highest ever, which is 96%. She also has a pet tiger, Bako, who is a failed kaiju that assists her in lifting her weapon. The beast is strong enough to handle the strong recoil, has crazy regeneration, and is also capable of protecting Mina since Bako can fight other kaiju. Even though Mina's strength is insane, she does have some weak spots, and probably the worst weakness ever. It was actually revealed in the Kaiju number 8 B-side that she sucks at cooking. This was connected to a bigger problem. She's terrible with blades to the point she doesn't want to use a kitchen knife, or even a goddamn peeler. I guess that's her excuse for not having to cook. This was proven by the 3rd Division platoon leader, Ebina, who said he was traumatized when Mina tried to cook curry. Like she literally tossed whole vegetables into the pot without even cutting them. Doesn't this sort of remind you of Shion's cooking from Reincarnated Slime? Not saying it was copied or anything. This is also one of the main reasons she got Soshiro to join the 3rd Division, to help her with cutting. So, does that mean Mina has ichmophobia? You know, the fear of sharp objects? But it also means that without her special weapon, she'll struggle in close fights against smaller kaiju, which is why she needs her tiger and especially Vice Captain Hoshina. But do you know who's better at using swords and guns? Isao the Goat Shinomiya. Seriously, Gen Narumi said that he could never beat Isao in anything. Swordsmanship, sharpshooting, and especially martial arts. Yes, Isao's doing the most. And you know why? Because back in the day, Esau was certified and stamped as the strongest soldier in the Defense Force's history. Like, damn, who in the world wouldn't marry this guy, you know? He'd have 100 matches on edge. Not only that, even though Esau was way past his prime, he still managed to solo 2 of the most powerful Dai Kaiju. So Esau used to be the Director General of the Defense Force, holding absolute authority over the entire organization. He was a master of close quarters combat and even perfected the squadron-style combat technique. This pairs perfectly with his combat suit, made from Kaiju number 2. The suit can unleash insane amounts of electromagnetic energy, boosting his physical abilities to crazy levels. The suit also comes with these OP gauntlets, also made from Kaiju number 2, that can release destructive energy like electricity. These gauntlets let Esau wreck enemies up close or from a distance with devastating power. Even though Esau admitted he'd lost some strength due to age, he was still insanely strong. He could still go toe-to-toe with the 2 most powerful Kaiju in the series, number 8 and number 9. In his fight with Kaiju number 8, their first clash was so intense, it destroyed multiple layers of heavily fortified training shelter, making it feel like 2 actual Kaiju were battling. Esau also matched the strength of Kaiju number 9, trading blows even while using just 1 arm. He almost ended the series when he nearly defeated number 9. And when Esau got fully absorbed by this talking mushroom, Gen Narumi was pissed, and bro wanted to get back in blood. And you know what's crazy about Narumi? When he first joined the Defense Force, Eiji Hasegawa saw that Gen was already OP because he had done something impossible that no normal human could do. Narumi is the current strongest Defense Force officer, but there are things about him you wouldn't be able to predict. You see, when Eiji first met Narumi, Gen was just a civilian, but there was something strange about him. Like, he killed a Kaiju without any proper equipment. Bro was just in his normal clothes, and killed this mantis-like monster with a random Kaiju body he picked up along the way. According to Eiji, this is impossible because most Defense Force weapons have Kaiju tissues that sync with the user, allowing officers to use Kaiju powers. So what Gen did was incredible since he used Kaiju powers with a Kaiju that hadn't been turned into a weapon yet. And Narumi's also brave. You know, like when Esau saved Narumi and Eiji with a dramatic entrance, Gen even had the balls to stand face to face with Esau and shove a middle finger right in Daddy Shinomiya's face. That's brave. What makes Narumi even more superhuman is that from the start, he had an unleashed combat power of 24%, even though he had never trained or worn a combat suit before. And like we discussed earlier, a regular officer can typically only reach 20% after training. But that's not the most exciting part. It was also mentioned that Narumi's aptitude with Kaiju cells is insanely high. This means Gen showed potential for one of the most powerful numbered weapons in the Defense Force, Japan's oldest identified Kaiju weapon, number 1. With all these natural talents, it just proves that Gen Narumi was born a monster. Eiji also admitted that the moment he met Narumi, he sensed something immeasurable. Eiji knew Narumi was going to be a game changer for the Defense Force. Even Esau personally recruited Gen, and when Narumi applied for the exam, he passed with top marks, not only in written, but also in physical exams. What's even crazier is that the second round of the exam was to kill a Kaiju, and when Narumi completed it, he stood alone on top of a pile of Kaiju corpses he personally killed. Yeah, Narumi solo leveling. With these achievements, he first joined the 2nd Division. Though he might have been a beast from the beginning, he also had some major problems, like he wasn't good with teamwork and often ignored orders from superiors. And there's actually a deeper reason for why Narumi acts like this. It's because he has no family. He has always been alone, by himself. A guy who always survived on his own strength. So maybe that's why Esau was so important to him, and the Defense Force was a place he found to finally belong. But then, Gen was about to be thrown out and discharged. So he thought that, just like in his past where he was abandoned, the Defense Force didn't want him there either. However, what Narumi didn't know is that his discharge was actually being kept at bay by Esau. And even though Esau was tough on him, like when he said to Narumi, "I don't need incompetent officers," it actually had a different meaning. Eiji explained that Esau was really saying, if you're not incompetent, then you can stay here. As soon as Gen realized that, he showed off his skills, awakened the numbered weapon, overcame his issues about himself, and got promoted to captain of the 1st Division. He even gained the title Japan's strongest anti-Kaiju combatant. Even though Gen never beat Esau Shinomiya, Esau saw Gen's potential and knew that one day Narumi would surpass him. That's why Esau kept training hard, so he wouldn't embarrass himself until Narumi officially took over. Which is why Esau was the father Narumi never had. So Esau became the wall Narumi wanted to overcome. And when Narumi fought Kaiju number 11, he was initially at a disadvantage due to its water-based attacks. But Gen defeated the monster not just because he evolved his numbered weapon, but also because of Esau. Narumi is also physically strong. Like Bro can swing that massive weapon and slice through a Kaiju smooth like butter. He is also extremely fast. Like Bro can actually outrun Kafka in Kaiju form. Gen's reflexes are also over the top, allowing him to dodge Kaiju number 9's high-speed attacks. And Narumi's most overpowered weapon is his foresight. After unlocking this power, Gen can see brain impulses in living beings, letting him predict moves of others, making his attacks inescapable. At first that didn't work against Kaiju number 11, but Gen leveled up his weapon to the point where he can now see electron movements, temperature changes, the terrain, and all the details around him, letting him predict what's gonna happen with crazy accuracy. And as a Defense Force captain, Gen's combat suit has an insanely high unleashed power, reaching 98%. Still though, second to Vice Captain Hoshina. At least Narumi got second place, you know? Where there is Kafka, who can barely draw out 1% of the Defense Force combat suit's power. Until a random Kaiju entered his mouth and bam, Kafka instantly became a Kaiju. But I've been thinking, what if Kaiju number 8 isn't naturally born, but created by humans? And did you notice that when Kafka was fighting Esau, that bug-like Kaiju mentioned something really interesting? This hint could explain two possible reasons why this Kaiju exists in the first place. Now, every time Kafka transforms, he becomes super OP, reaching a fortitude level of 9.8. This makes him not only the most powerful Kaiju ever, but also one of the strongest Defense Force members. He got so strong he can one-punch any Kaiju, even the toughest ones, like when he instantly killed Kaiju number 13. But that's not his only skill. Even as a human, Kafka is actually really good at supporting his team by pointing out the weaknesses of Kaiju they're fighting, something he learned on his previous job. And one of the craziest moments was when we saw Kafka's true power in his battle against Isao Shinomiya. Kafka might have been out of control, but we saw many advantages he could use once he fully mastered his Kaiju power, especially its unpredictability. Even Isao said that the human logic won't work against Kaiju number 8. Like when Kafka quickly twisted his body after Esau dodged his attack, or when Kafka used his body as a decoy to regenerate from the core and attack Esau from behind. Even in his basic Kaiju form, Kafka's got a lot of advantages. He has enhanced strength, speed and reflexes, and can leap great distances. With his thick skin, Kafka can tank not just shots, but even hits as strong as a nuclear bomb. Kafka also has some overpowered offensive attacks. He can power up with electric-like energy flowing through him, making his hits way stronger. Like by focusing energy in his spine and opening his mouth wide, Kafka can release a powerful energy roar that neutralizes attacks from strong enemies, like Kaiju number 9. Since Kafka can manipulate his Kaiju energy, he can even transform parts of his body into thrusters to boost the speed of his attacks. He even has a Kaiju sensor in his body that lets him sense other Kaijus nearby. What's really insane is he can gigantify himself, which he did when he was out of control and fighting Esau. Also, did you notice that Kaiju number 8's body looks exactly like the combat suit used by the Defense Force? It might sound like a bit of a stretch, but what if this is foreshadowing something really important? Like what if Kaiju number 8 isn't exactly a natural born Kaiju, but is man-made? And you're gonna understand what I'm saying in just a minute. Now, there is a problem for Kafka. His Kaiju abilities are too powerful for his own good. You know, the more he uses them, the more he loses a part of himself. It's like putting a 5-star waifu in Genshin and only leveling her up while ignoring the rest of your team, making the whole balance off. Kafka just relies on his powers way too much, so he's not spending time on other skills. This is why Vice Captain Hoshina taught Kafka 2 hand-to-hand combat techniques. So basically, Kafka learned Taijutsu, or should I say, Kaijutsu. Now here are 2 theories that could explain why the mysterious dragonfly, Kaiju, exists. The first theory is that this Kaiju was created in a lab, designed for one thing, to kill its own kind. Yup, a Kaiju that kills other Kaiju. So basically, to fight monsters, humans ended up creating monsters of their own. And this could be why Kaiju number 8's body looks like the Defense Force combat suit. Then at some point, this mysterious Kaiju escaped from the lab and chose Kafka as its host. The second theory is that these Kaijus are parasites, and they're always looking for the perfect host. The better the connection between the host and parasite, the stronger the Kaiju becomes. This could explain why most Kaiju look like lizards, bugs, and spiders. These parasites have taken over those creatures, and it's possible that the parasite that chose Kafka was actually a perfect match for him, making him so powerful. But because Kafka is a kind guy, not just some mindless animal, the parasite can't fully control him since he has a will of his own. This parasite theory also connects with numbered weapons. Like no one could use weapon number 1 until they found narumi. Same thing with number 6 and Reno, and look how overpowered they became. Meaning, the numbered weapons also act like parasites. They need the right host that perfectly matches them. But Kaiju number 9 is different. This guy never bonded with a host, he literally absorbed them. Okay, by the way, so look at the realization I had while writing this, okay? Humans and Kaiju are apparently on opposite sides, right? But they're basically the same. Think of it like this. Humans use Kaiju as weapons to annihilate Kaiju, and Kaiju number 9 is using humans as resources to build a society to annihilate humans. Damn, now that's deep. Also, I found another possible hint about Kaiju number 8. The author, Naoya Matsumoto, was inspired by a novella that might hint at something really tragic, and that is Kafka's death.